Hi, I'm Phil Nathan, and I have the privilege of chairing the Sum of the Parts. That's the committee that oversees and coordinates all of the service areas that we as Lions provide to our communities and the world. And our causes serve areas such as cancers, vision, hunger, diabetes, environment, disaster, and youth. But we here in the British Isles have learnt to support each cause by way of synergy, which will hopefully become evident to you today. So a great team have volunteered an inordinate number of hours to produce for you the Global Service Team Roadshow. These productions have been recorded and will soon be available for clubs to download and view independently whenever they wish. I'm pleased today to introduce you to the subject of our environment. Shocking statistics, and so much that we can do. So please listen and learn, and let's all try and make the world a better place. Thank you so much.
Welcome to the environment component of our service roadshow. I am Lion Rosemary Hogg. It's easy to feel overwhelmed by the challenges we face in trying to undo the damage that we have done and minimise the damage we continue to do to the environment in our daily lives. Our presenters today will be telling you about what we as Lions are doing and our plans for the future. Humanity has to make better use of our natural resources, wasting less and becoming more mindful of the impact of our actions on the environment. COP26 aimed to slow down temperature rise. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres called the first report, issued last August, a code red for humanity, and said that if we combine forces now, we can avert climate catastrophe. His take on the latest report is not encouraging, with the evidence detailed by IPCC as unlike anything he has ever seen, calling it an atlas of human suffering and a damning indictment of failed climate leadership. With fact upon fact, this report, which focuses on impacts, adaptation and vulnerability, reveals how people and the planet are getting clobbered by climate change. Nearly half of humanity is living in the danger zone now. Many ecosystems are at the point of no return now. Unchecked carbon pollution is forcing the world's most vulnerable on a frog march to destruction now, he declared. No one can deny climate change and its correlation with increasing greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. Last winter saw the UK blasted by storm after storm with the loss of whole forests. The estimated loss of trees in the winter of 21-22 has been placed between 8 and 15 million in the UK alone. Our first presenter, Leo Victoria, will tell us about what Lions are doing to play our part in the battle to save the planet.
When most people think of trees, they think of nature. While that is correct, people often forget how important trees are to us in maintaining our environment. So why are they important? Trees provide food, shade, and shelter to many different people and species of animals. Food can be taken from the trees and sold to create employment opportunities and bring income to less developed cities. The oak tree, for example, can house more than 4,000 species of animals. Trees are a natural carbon capture system. But first, what is a carbon capture system? A carbon capture system is when the carbon in our atmosphere is trapped or stored away. In this case, trees use carbon to grow their branches and leaves through the process of photosynthesis. Trees improve air quality in busy cities by shading surfaces and reducing temperatures in buildings, reducing the city's temperature by up to 12 degrees Celsius, and also reducing the need for air conditioning and the emissions of greenhouse gases that come with it. Trees remove particulate pollution by catching particles that float around in our atmosphere on their leaves. Trees provide clean water and fertile soil. Trees improve water quality by slowing down rain as it falls to the earth and helping the soil absorb the rainfall. Trees act as natural sponges, filtering the water as it passes into streams and rivers. Trees act as a barrier, reducing storm runoff and lessen flood damages. Trees stop soil from eroding waterways by binding the soil together through its roots.
Forests. They are home to 80% of life on Earth. From the deepest of their layers to the top of trees' crowns, forests are the heroes keeping our planet healthy and us alive. All of us. Forests are a barrier against erosion, landslides, and avalanches. They give us fresh air, clean the drinking water in our rivers, and they attract the rain we need to grow food. And yet, we are not treating them well. In only a couple of thousand years, humans have wiped out 80% of the planet's original forest cover. For every vanishing forest, we lose the most important buffer against climate warming. But not only that. About 2 billion rural people depend on forests to survive. It's where they find shelter, food, and water. It's their home, and by taking care of it, they protect them, and they take care of us too. This is not a forest. This is. There are more than 800 definitions of forest. Deciding what exactly we call forest is vitally important to protect the environment. In a forest, each individual tree has a role to play, as does every animal, every plant, every living being, big and small, microscopically small. Trees breathe, taking in the excess CO2 humans produce, then hiding some of it away and using the rest to create healthy branches, nutritious fruits, nuts, and beautiful landscapes. The roots of trees give the soil the structure it needs to absorb and retain water when it rains, avoiding floods that would otherwise wash away perfectly fertile soil, which we need to grow food. Food for us, but also for them. Together, as an ecosystem, forests provide the exact balance life needs to thrive. And that's why this isn't a forest. The balance is completely disturbed. Like in any monoculture, the air feels very sticky. And if you listen, it's completely silent. And now let's tune into a primary forest. Animals can't thrive there because the presence of one only tree or plant species simply doesn't provide the necessary range of food, shelter, and nutrients for life to thrive. The soil also suffers in monocultures, like here on the left versus on the right in a healthy forest. Take palm oil plantations, for example. With no other species to compete with, they suck all the water and nutrients they need, giving nothing back to the soil, which quickly loses its fertility. And by disturbing the soil, tree monocultures not only can't absorb CO2 efficiently, they actually emit carbon, as they are now standing where ancient forests once stood, storing carbon they captured over thousands of years. So if we were to call both of these a forest, we would be neglecting the importance of forests beyond human needs. And yet every second, the world loses about 1 football pitch worth of forest area. Here's the simple reason we're losing forests at an alarming rate. We have disconnected our everyday life from the reality of nature. We finance unsustainable legal logging to plant monocultures of crops we want more of all the time, like palm oil or soybeans. And 80% of that soy we harvest is not even for us. It's fed to the many cattle for whom we clear most of the world's forests to satisfy our demand for meat. The people that used to live in those forests rarely get to share the profits and whose name the forests were wiped off in the first place. On the contrary, they are pushed into unbearable situations in which they see no other option but to clear out forests entirely. Their soils are now depleted and they need more space to keep satisfying our demand, often their only source of income. But we can turn things around. We've seen it with our own eyes in Ecosa's tree planting projects across continents, and endless studies confirm it. When you empower local communities, forests are guaranteed to survive. Protecting our forests can start with you, but it's not your responsibility alone. This is how, together, we can make the structural changes we need to protect our forests. Support Indigenous groups or associations that help them defend themselves against outside pressures. Consume less meat, or consider following a plant-based diet. Give the industry less reasons to clear new forests. Inform yourself about reforestation and deforestation laws in your country. Is your government counting monocultures as forests in their national account? How are they protecting forests, and are they planning to restore depleted areas?
Hi, I'm Fatima, and I document Ecosa's tree planting projects in Latin America, Spain, and Southeast Asia. Ecosia is a search engine that plants trees. Ecosia works like any other search engine, but we use our money to plant trees all over the world. If you'd like to see more of our videos, make sure to subscribe to Ecosa's YouTube channel. For more background info on this episode, make sure to read the description of this video. We'll link to useful resources on the topic. And download Ecosia to help us plant more trees. Thank you.
Deforestation is a rapidly growing problem. It is estimated that 15 billion trees are cut down each year. In 2019, the estimated global tree loss was 24 million hectares. In 2021, there's only 4 billion hectares left of forestry, which means the planet has lost 1/3 of its trees. To put that into perspective, the amount of trees lost is about twice the size of the United States. We've had a lot of storms recently, and during the storms, the trees in my local area were greatly affected. Around 10,000 hectares of trees lost in storm damage, and 40,000 people lost power during the storms. So what are we doing to help? The Lions have been putting in a lot of work by tree and hedgerow planting, and often involve communities for tree planting events. Recently, members of the Lions have went out and planted over 150 trees, and my Leos Club has been raising money in school for the environment and planting trees. The Lions and the Leos work closely with Woodland Trust. Biodiversity. What is biodiversity? Biodiversity is a variety of life from plants to animals to fungus and all the microorganisms that call our planet home, as well as different regions that they are native to. Everything on the planet belongs to a community that makes up different regions of the world, and each community is either interconnected or dependent. The future. If we make no effort to take care of the planet, we will no longer be able to do the things we take for granted now. We'll no longer be able to breathe clean air or drink clean water or eat food that's not contaminated. There will be a loss of habitats for animals in extreme weather conditions. Many species will go extinct. The future starts with us.
Thank you, Victoria. How many of us are wondering how the natural world and humanity itself will be by the time the younger end of our Lions family will have reached the ages of the more senior? One of the biggest causes of deforestation has been to produce food. Vice District Governor Chris Hibbert told in his presentation about gleaning and how much produce is wasted by unharvested food, and how better food management helps the hungry as well as making better use of the land. Lions are also famous for recycling spectacles. Around the world, thousands can see because of lions. One of the expanding issues impacting on our environment is clothing production. Here are some statistics from the World Economic Forum. Clothing production has roughly doubled since 2000. While people bought 60% more garments in 2014 than in 2000, they only kept the clothes for half as long. In Europe, fashion companies went from an average offering of 2 collections per year in 2000 to 5 in 2011. Some brands offer even more. Zara puts out 24 collections per year, while H&M offers between 12 and 16. Then a lot of this clothing ends up in landfill. The equivalent of 1 rubbish truck full of clothes is burned or dumped in a landfill every second. Many cheap fashion clothes are produced in countries where there is a shortage of water, but making clothing takes a large volume of water, and it also pollutes it pretty badly. Anyone who's worked in a charity shop will have come across clothes being donated with the shop label still attached, never having been worn. Our next presenter is Lion Teresa Carberry, who's going to tell us about how she is doing her bit to combat this waste. Teresa.